If I had you imagine a beat drop in music, what would come to mind? Especially in an EDM adjacent song, but you can hear it in top 40 pop or hip hop too. What do you feel in the moments leading up to that climax? What kind of expectation builds inside of you as the instrumental is growing, the energy is picking up, everything is mounting until we get that euphoric explosion of sound?
If somebody's sexy, tell them, hey, give me air into the bridge. I don't care. Never getting older.
Well, whether you love or hate the concept of the gigantic beat drop, in many ways that trend is a relic of the past. In recent years, we've seen a plethora of tracks that have that familiar initial build, but what follows is a lot less Wayne's World headbanging or synchronized moshing in the crowd, and a little more cool nodding along and careful swaying back and forth. Gone are the days of insane cartoonish mayhem and the producer throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you, and in are the suave, simpler, more understated beats typically comprised of just vocals, drums, and bass, or even less than that. While we have Charlie Puth to thank for naming this term the antidrop to describe what happens in his single Attention, the actual concept as a reaction to pop trends had been around for quite a while before the song's release in 2017. With that being said, Attention is a perfect dictionary go-to example of this idea. The track starts with plucking strings, building slowly with lush blooms of a synth. You're fully dialed in to hear where this thing goes. Charlie's vocals are getting louder, the sound rises and rises, and instead of our examples from before, it's a funky, thumping bass line.
You just want attention. You don't want.
While diehard ravers might not be a fan of this approach, the antidrop aims to catch you in a charming, welcome way. So how did this happen? Well, my theory is that the loud, lovably over-the-top pop songs of the early 2010s just left us burnt out in the pursuit of the biggest, baddest beat drop. Feel free to check out our recent video on Cher Lloyd's Swagger Jagger for a bit more details on that.
You can't stop looking at me.
After years of music listeners becoming acclimated to these eruptions of sound, the drop lost its touch. People were expecting it, so how do you surprise those people? Drop the drop. One notable anti-drop even earlier than Attention is The Weeknd's Can't Feel My Face in 2015. This song is timeless, just masterfully crafted, and everyone watching this video probably knows the chorus of this song as it was omnipresent from its release, and this track was also a reminder that you didn't need to build up to a thunderous chorus to make an addictive pop hit. There was a sleek, fresh quality to The Weeknd showing restraint in that moment between the pre-chorus and the chorus. This thing does build, but once we're in that split second of silence and anticipation after "She told me you'll never be alone," we don't get a volatile fireworks show. We're treated to one of the catchiest, smoothest choruses of the 21st century. Not to be all hoity-toity, but there's a sophistication to this approach, and they pushed the boundaries of the genre in the process.
I can feel my face when I'm with you.
In 2016, This Is What You Came For by Calvin Harris and Rihanna gave us another famous anti-drop. The hit was penned by Taylor Swift under a fake Swedish name, so you know it's a house song, and the track goes from a bright, fist-pumping EDM sound to a somewhat softer house beat, accompanied by a vocal loop from Rihanna that I'm sure is in your head right now. Robbie Daw is quoted in Idolator unintentionally describing both the song and the anti-drop perfectly. It's just a bit subdued, which might have been the correct decision. Why attempt to top a pop classic and fail when you can zig left aiming for other territory altogether. In other words, instead of doing the same old method that had run its course and become tired, good on him for at least doing something different and still succeeding. One of the places this trend has manifested heavily is in K-pop. Shout out to my co-writer Brin for her expertise in this department. There are truly so many good examples that it's hard to single out a select few, but if you dig even just a little bit, it's easy to find a wealth of K-pop anti-drop bops. Shut 'em down, open up shop. Chungha's Stay Tonight is usually one of the first examples pointed to in K-pop, and for good reason. It starts with an absolutely mesmerizing house beat, with Chungha's cool, clear vocals shining through. This quickly becomes a super highway of sound, carrying us to the nanosecond before we're expecting that drop, and it all disappears. We're set back to the calming, bouncing emptiness of the house beat. The production on this track is also incredibly clean, which adds to its power and shows that the anti-drop has to really be earned in order to stand out. You can't just make a chorus empty and expect it to be a good song. It really has to do something. Move by Taemin is both a flawlessly executed anti-drop and just a slinky, velvety K-pop classic. The song is minimal to begin with, like an EDM hit stripped down to its very essence, but it still gives a sense of mounting tension, like that sound is about to hit you, just to essentially maintain the same pace with a pulsing, almost a 9 Inch Nails dark synth. Even the choreography is famous for its overt sensuality through the subtlest of movements, something incredibly difficult to achieve, leading to countless covers and serving as the source of further inspirations. You do eventually get that bigger sound by the end, but it's incredibly understated by most modern pop standards. Superm's hilariously titled Jopping, which means jumping and popping, obviously, has no business being as good as it is. This song is pure chaos, and for that, it'll always be thoroughly revered. The beat bounces on until the chorus, which sounds like it's winding up for a Francis Ngannou haymaker of a drop, with the sound of vigorous stomping, clapping, and surging synths combining to create those expectations. Instead, it makes an abrupt turn, cutting to the sound of the subtle bouncing bass beat as the only backdrop to the group's combined chants of the song's namesake. And then it's all clear. In this case, we don't need a drop, we just need to keep jopping. Making this video was not an insult to the anti-drops, otherwise known as drops, that we described in the beginning. The ever-growing musical landscape is a glorious place where both Skrillex and Calvin Harris can thrive. This is just a case study of how everything kinda balances out eventually, in a similar way of how goofy quote-unquote mumble rappers are the antithesis to conscious real rap, or how grunge music sprouted out in direct opposition to the bubblegum pop of the 90s. This is another bullet point for Isaac Newton, and every action having an equal and opposite reaction. Or whatever. Something something Thanos meme, something something good way to wrap up this video. Hey, thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS. You can support me on Twitch or my Patreon. And thank you again. I'll see you soon.